Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being here. If you're new to my channel, please make sure that you follow me on alternative social media channels. You will find them linked in the description below. Soon you will find new content on those channels that you will not be able to find on YouTube. A fresh and devastating supply chain crisis is likely just days away, as U.S. ports are expecting dock workers to walk off their job, demanding better pay and work conditions. Businesses across the United States are already preparing for 36 U.S. ports, that's right, 36 U.S. ports to go on strike. Close to half, reportedly anywhere from 45% to 49% of all monthly U.S. imports will be affected. According to the International Longshoremen's Association, as many as 25,000 members are already prepared to go on strike if the union fails to come to an agreement with the U.S. Maritime Alliance prior to the expiration of the current contract on September the 30th. So this is just days away. Allegedly, negotiations between the union and the U.S. Maritime Alliance did take place. That was earlier this year. They failed to reach any sort of consensus, and so talks were put on pause back in June. So based on the article published in Financial Times, it does appear that there is a very high degree of probability that supply chains in the United States will be severely impacted. The East Coast ports will be affected the most. CNBC here reports that the largest port on the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, has already begun preparing for the strike, the first one of this magnitude since 1977. 147 vessels are en route to the East Coast and Gulf ports by October the 1st, with 38 of those vessels headed to the port of New York. The last time when something similar happened was more than 20 years ago. This was back in 2002, when an 11-day strike cost the United States economy close to $1 billion every single day. And this is the scary part right here. It actually resulted in 6 months worth of backlogs. The only ports that were affected then were the ports on the West Coast. Now imagine what happens when 36 ports shut down at the same exact time. It's just not a temporary inconvenience, but a long-term issue that may cause delays in the availability of a variety of products, including medicine and other essentials. Financial Times writes, official negotiations never resumed. Executives and economists assumed Washington would intercede, as it did to prevent a freight rail strike in 2022, but the White House said last week they would not prevent labor action at the ports. I wonder why. You have to question why. Trade groups representing retailers, restaurants, manufacturers, food processors, and fashion designers are urging the current administration to reverse its position. So, whose interests are they actually serving? The interest of the workers, who deserve better benefits and better pay? The likely answer to that is no. Are they serving the interests of consumers and businesses? Probably not either. So we clearly cannot and should not prevent labor action, of course, at the ports. But there is a need to use other available means, other alternatives to facilitate negotiations to take place and to find a solution that would benefit the workers, consumers, and businesses. Those groups don't want a shutdown. The timing is quite important too, and this is something that we just can't miss. If this does take place, which likely it will take place just 4 weeks prior to November. Think about other risks that are present right now and how lack of supplies may make those risks worse, and that's all I will say about that. The contract that is expiring on September the 30th covers a wide range of seaports, and they are located across the United States. A strike would shut down 5 of the 10 busiest ports in North America, and a total of 36 ports along the East and the Gulf coasts. If worst comes to worst and workers do walk off, more than 40% of the entire country's port volume will come to a standstill. This is how much volume of shipping those ports, where workers are already prepared to go on strike, account for. If the strike is allowed to take place, it's reasonable to expect shortages of certain goods, a wide array of products to be completely frank, as well as a rise in prices, since the consistent demand will drive up prices at that point in time. Once the supply chains see the rise in costs for importing materials, for exporting products, and warehousing shipments, consumers will, of course, have to understand that the price that they pay for those shipments will become naturally much higher as well. A VP at the Consumer Brands Association commented, "The writing is on the wall here. We all don't want to strike, but I think we have to be prepared that there could be one, and it's going to have a really serious impact on the economy." Among those who are worried the most about the effects of 36 US ports shutting down at the same exact time are food retailers and food suppliers. Financial Times interviewed a representative of the Food Industry Association who reportedly said, "There are concerns about the potential effects of a port strike on the food industry's operations," adding that he feels confident that they would be able to adapt to these rapidly evolving circumstances. However, consumer packaged goods manufacturers say the opposite. They fear they will not be able to reschedule or reroute shipments because many of the ingredients that they import are perishable. "This is not an easily resolved thing," a representative commented. "We're kind of pessimistic at this point." Now, besides what appears to be at this point in time probable workers' strike that will impact 40% of the U.S. shipping processes and routes, we need to be aware that the Red Sea shipping route is still being blocked, which is just another factor that raises shipping costs for freight and adds more risk for commodities, especially ahead of colder fall and winter months. As the International Monetary Fund recently warned us of global trade fragmentation, I spoke about it at length before. Part of the risk is that supply chains are more vulnerable to disruptions on the global scale. However, political gridlock, pursuing interests of a few at the expense of the many, of the majority, economic instability, those things are domestic issues that put our supply chains at risk. When prices are already high and U.S. consumers have taken on so much debt that the household debt is hitting yet a new record high every single month, a possibility of a supply chain shock of this magnitude would truly be extremely painful. With that being said, it is wise to make sure that you have your necessities available, that you have things in stock. It's always good to be prepared. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Make sure that you give my channel on Rumble and Substack a follow, as well as join me on my social media platforms linked in the description below. I certainly hope to see you there as well, and to make sure that we have a way to connect. And I will see you back tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.